Hello everyone. So Jperm recently uploaded a video where he explains how to solve a 3x3 using only double moves. So all this essentially came down to is that you scramble your cube using only double moves like this, and you will end up with a cube that has opposite colors on each side. So blue and green on these two sides, red and orange on these two sides, and white and yellow on these two sides. Now after scrambling your cube using only double moves, you are then just restricted to using double moves in order to solve the cube. A day after watching the video, a really great idea popped up in my head. If it is possible to solve the 3x3 using only double moves, then certainly it is possible to solve the 4x4 using only double moves. So I tried that, and after a few hours of struggling to solve the 4x4 using this method, I finally managed to solve the cube. So in this video I'll be showing you how I did it and how you can solve the 4x4 using only double moves. Now before I do that, you first need to know how to solve the 3x3 using only double moves. Now Jperm had a really long explanation on how he figured out to solve the 3x3 using only double moves, but all it essentially came down to is this one algorithm. And all this algorithm does is swap these two edges with these two edges. So now that we have the algorithm, we can use this algorithm in order to solve the cube using only double moves. The first step to solving any puzzle is to scramble the puzzle. So what you need to do is scramble the cube using only double moves. If you do that correctly, you will end up with this pattern. So since we have an algorithm that only swaps edges, we need to solve all of the corners first. So to solve the corners, I'm going to start with white corners. So this corner would need to go next to this one. I can insert it like this. And then these two need to go in over here. And that will solve all of the corners. So now that we have the corners solved, the next thing we need to do is to solve the edges. So what I usually do is start with one side. So as you can see here, we have blue and green opposite from each other solved over here, and we have these two white edge pieces over here. So what you can do in this case is to swap these two edges with each other. We don't care about these edges for now. So if we do the algorithm, we swap these two edges. Now we want to place these two edges in their positions. So we're going to place in this one. We can swap this blue one out, that would be fine. Like this. And now to place this blue one back where it came from while inserting this orange one, we're going to do it with our left hand. Like this. So now we have one side solved. Now we just need to make sure that all of the edges are in their correct positions. Now to swap these two, we're just going to do the algorithm from here because we don't care about these edges. And now we have the white side solved, and then by accident I solved the yellow side as well. But now you see that we have these three edges that have a cycle. Now what I did in a case like this is look at the middle edge and then do the algorithm according to where this edge needs to go. So this edge needs to go over here. So I'm going to swap it to its position like this. And now we have these two edges that need to swap and these two edges. Now we cannot use a single move in order to place it in this position where these two and these two need to swap. So what we need to do is to set up one of these pieces to be over here or at the back over here so that we can do the algorithm. So what I would do in a case like this is take this edge and place it at the back over here. So do this, insert it and take it back. Then do the swapping algorithm and undo all of that, and that will solve the cube. Okay, so now that you know how to solve the 3x3 using this method, let's get into the 4x4. But let's first talk about what makes the 4x4 using this method a bit more difficult than the 3x3. So the most obvious reason is the edges that can be divided into wings. Now if you scramble the cube, these edges won't stay together and the wings will get messed up. But there is a very easy solution to this problem. So the centers can also be messed up, and this could make solving the cube a little bit more harder. But solving a 4x4 using this method is really not that much different from a 3x3. The only thing that can confuse you is the wings or edges. Now before I show you how to solve the 4x4 using this method, I recommend that you try this on your own. This will help you to get a better understanding of how pieces on the 4x4 move, and then that could be more beneficial to you than just watching this video and see how I did it. So I encourage you to pause the video and try this on your own. If you do solve the 4x4 on your own, let me know in the comments down below if you managed to do it. So now I'm going to start explaining. When Jperm solved the 3x3 using this method, he started off by experimenting with a bunch of algorithms that he can use in his solves that could be useful to him. Now I did the same thing on the 4x4 and there's actually just two algorithms that I came up with. These two algorithms goes like this. As you can see, that algorithm swaps these edges with each other as well as these top centers with each other. The second algorithm that I came up with is this algorithm. And what this algorithm does is just swap the top centers with each other. Okay, so now that you know how I came up with those two algorithms, let's start scrambling the cube. Now after you scramble the cube, you will know that you have done it right if you have opposite colors on opposite sides. So when I started solving this for the very first time, the first thing I did was solve all of the centers. Because when you solve a 4x4 normally, then you would also solve the centers first. So I started by solving white and yellow. So now we have white and yellow solved. Then I solved any of the other two colors. So I'm going to start with orange and red. So we can solve it like this. Okay, so when you come to the last two centers, you want to make sure that those centers are solved relative to the other four centers on the cube. If you know your color scheme, you will know that blue comes on this side and green on this side. So if I solve it like this, green and blue are in the correct positions. Okay, so when you have solved all of the centers, the first thing you will notice are edges like these, where these four wings form two edges and these four wings form two edges. You will also notice that wings opposite from each other can also form centers. So these four wings form two edges and these four wings form two edges. So now we cannot use these two edges because we aren't allowed to do one moves like these, flip the edge and then do it back, because one moves aren't allowed. So now that we cannot use the edges that are next to each other, this means that we have to use the edges that are opposite from each other. Now it will always work like this, that if you have these four wings opposite from each other that need to form two edges, then if you do a wide U2, then all four of the edges in this layer will be solved. So now that we have all four of these edges solved, you cannot take these edges out and replace them with these ones, because we aren't allowed to do single moves. So this would be illegal. So what we have to do is to try and fix the centers while preserving these edges. Now if you remember correctly, at the beginning I told you that I found an algorithm that swapped these two edges and these two top centers with each other. I also showed you an algorithm that only swapped the two top centers. In this case, it doesn't really matter which algorithm we use because we don't really care about these edges for now. So what I'm going to do is to use that algorithm to solve the centers. And as you can see, now we have orange and red solved with all of these edges still preserved. So now we move on to green and blue. And as you can see, the centers are solved as well as all of these edges. So having that algorithm I showed you at the beginning really makes this actually very easy. Now after solving these four edges, the thing you will notice on my cube is that this layer is solved as well. The only layer that isn't solved yet is this middle layer over here. So you will notice that these four wings make two edges and these four wings make two edges. So now since you know that we cannot use single moves to solve these edges, we need to have these four wings opposite from each other. So how we can do that is by doing R2. And now we see that the wings are opposite from each other, so we do wide U2, and now all of these edges are solved. Now we need to fix the centers, so we do that algorithm I've shown you. That will solve this white center, and then this will solve the orange and red center. And as you can see, after doing that, all the edges on the cube are paired up. Now after you have paired up all of the edges, the last remaining thing to do is to solve the 4x4 like a 3x3. So you will just follow the normal process. Solve all of the corners first, like this. Then start solving one side. solve orange, then solve red, like this. Then we have these two edges that needs to swap. So this is impossible on a 3x3, but on a 4x4 this is called parity. So I noticed that if you use this method, then you can end up with parity. So what you want to do is to place these two edges that need to swap in one layer. So if you have these two edges across from each other, we can use the parity algorithm because the parity algorithm only uses double moves. So this is a double move, 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 another double move, and another double move. And then you just end off with the setup moves you did, and that will solve the 4x4. So as you can see, solving the 4x4 isn't really that much different from solving it using a 3x3. The only main difference is the sensors that you can pair up fast at the beginning, as well as all of the wings, which take a little bit of thinking to actually fix that problem. If you tried this before I shown you how to do it, let me know in the comments down below if you have solved the cube. If you found a better way of pairing up the edges, then also let me know in the comments down below. I would be really interested. So thank you all for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed and that you found it helpful, or that you just had fun watching this video. Leave any questions that you have in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.